Previously on Serial.
He left his cell phone in the car with me. He called me.
Okay, now at this point, you know why he's leaving the car with you.
Yes.
And why is that?
Because he said he was going to kill Eddie.
From This American Life and WBEZ Chicago is Serial. One story told week by week. I'm Mandy Yang. Today I'm joined by
Magna Reddy, Henrik Sun,
and Estelle Shen, a group of journalists who are just as interested as I am about the murder of Hae Min Lee. This is episode 13, the final episode of season 1. Today we'll talk about who really killed Hae Min Lee.
There are so many different theories surrounding the murder of Hae Min Lee, ranging from her murderer being her ex-boyfriend Adnan Syed, all the way from being murdered to a serial killer.
All of these theories are completely different in their own way, but we've decided to explore the case further and look into the different interviews and testimonials given by people associated with the murder.
Doing this really not only strengthened our opinions on the case, but also gave us direct evidence to support our claims.
Now, originally I thought that there was no way Adnan could be that unlucky. I thought he manipulated his own brain and completely forgot about how he killed Hae Min Lee. I mean, how can you explain that even though Jay's evidence was inconsistent, it matched evidence that occurred in the exact same time frame when Adnan says he does not remember a thing?
Well, after a very careful investigation into the facts and evidence of the murder of Hae Min Lee, we have come to the conclusion that on January 13, 1999, Jay Wilds killed Hae Min Lee.
We have several different reasons for our claim. We'll be going over all of them in this episode, so be sure to stay tuned.
Our first reason for why we believe Jay was the murderer is because Jay wanted to cover up his weed business. Instead of getting a long sentence for dealing drugs to minors, he wanted to undermine that sentence by only receiving a probation for assistance in a murder.
During Jay's interview with Natasha Vargas Cooper, he mentioned,
"Because at that time I was convinced that I would be going to jail for a long time if he turned me in for drug dealing, especially to high school kids."
However, what doesn't make sense is why he helped Adnan in the first place if he didn't want to go to jail. He later realized saying that
he had assisted Adnan in a murder would cause him to only receive probation instead of a long jail sentence.
Later on, when asked why he did not report Adnan as he was burying the body, Jay responds with,
"I'm pretty sure it's my fear of going to prison for having a bunch of weed in my grandma's house."
He knew that committing murder would cause the police to investigate his profile and weed business, putting him in trouble for both murder and weed, worsening his image.
Well, first of all, I wasn't willing to cooperate with the police. It wasn't until they made it clear that they were interested in my business of pot that I began to open up. And
Jay makes it clear that he would only speak to the police about the case if they wouldn't investigate him.
Our second reason why Jay killed Hae is the excessive amount of inconsistencies in Jay's testimonies depicting his deceitful personality.
during a series of Jay's interview and testimonies, several of the events in his accounts have changed. In episode 4 of Serial, Koenig goes over the various inconsistencies that Jay had accounted for.
To begin with, detectives asked Jay about why Adnan had asked Jay for help for burying the body. In the first interview, Jay tells detectives,
"I'm the criminal element of Woodlawn."
However, at trial, Jay explains that Adnan came to him for help because Adnan has lots of blackmail against him in his weed business. According to Jay, Adnan could tell the police,
"There's his drug dealer, and here's what he gets his from, and this is who he deals with."
Jay said this in episode 5.
changing the story to say Adnan blackmailed him, Jay protects himself. It makes it seem as if Jay was forced into doing Adnan's asking, even though he had previously stated he made these decisions out of his own free will after Adnan had reached out to him. This is reason to believe that Jay is lying during the second interview.
This is just one example of when Jay's testimonies did not line up with each other. There are several more instances, including him saying that he had first just dropped off Adnan to bury the body, and later he said that he had helped him bury the body.
Okay, pause for a second here. I definitely agree that Jay was lying, but how can you explain that even though Adnan was pretty consistent the whole time? In his first interview, he told the police officer that Hae Min Lee was supposed to give him a ride that day, which was consistent with what the witness said, but later changed his story.
Okay, so maybe Adnan forgot or fibbed or lied once. Look at all the instances where Jay has done much worse. I can show you here, here, and here. Look at this. Jay said Adnan only mentioned he was going to kill Hae once, but later Jay said that Adnan had been telling him about the murder. Jay said that he saw Hae's body at Edmondson Avenue, and later he said that he saw Hae's body at Best Buy. Need I go on? There are so many more, and I think you get the picture.
But the third reason why Jay killed Hae is his reluctancy to be interviewed by Sarah Koenig. When Koenig wanted to interview Jay about the issue many times, Jay declined an interview. It was only when Koenig directly went to Jay's house when he permitted her to come in. And it wasn't even an interview at all. It was an unrecorded conversation.
This is a clear sign that Jay is afraid he may say something that would give himself away. All of the other messages he had been giving to reporters are excuses to why he doesn't want to. Moreover, the problem I see is that this is not just Sarah, but multiple other reporters who are investigating this crime as well.
Later on, when others were asking Jay why he constantly did not permit an interview, his excuse was,
"I am telling the truth, and look what happens when I don't talk to her. Look at how much she's demonized me, and I feel like if I did talk to her, it would give me twice as much ammo to twist my words."
This is still not responding to the fact that an innocent Jay would still be innocent, no matter how incriminating Sarah made it.
I know this all sounds crazy to you, the question of why hangs over this case, but it hasn't stopped us from going down the rabbit hole. Let's go back to the beginning, back to when I started this podcast in episode 1. While Adnan's motive laid out by the state was very clear, that he was heartbroken, was impulsive, and driven by emotions, Jay, on the other hand, does not have a clear incentive. However, we believe that Jay had an incentive to frame Adnan because Adnan and Stephanie were getting closer and Jay was jealous. This was our fourth reason.
As stated in Serial, Stephanie is one of Adnan's best friend and also Jay's girlfriend. As Conan questions in episode 1,
Wait, Adnan, just hold up for a second. Why do you care whether Jay got Stephanie a present? What is it to you?
Adnan replies with,
Well, Stephanie was a very close friend of mine, as I mentioned, and I just wanted to kind of make sure that she also got a gift from him, you know? She had mentioned to me that she was looking forward to getting a gift from him, and she mentioned that she was really happy to get the gift I gave her.
This suggests that Jay was upset that Adnan was getting close to his girlfriend. As a result, he wants to retaliate.
overall, after much deliberation, we have decided to put Jay in lifetime prison in Adnan with 3 years of probation.
To end our final episode, we want to thank all of our sponsors, viewers, team members, and most importantly, Adnan Syed for agreeing to do our interview.
Until next time on Serial.